The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. In great news for anyone with a royal podcast, Meghan Markle will reportedly restart her lifestyle blog, The Tig. The Mirror reports the revamped blog would offer tips on food, travel, fashion, the arts, design, conscious living, and wellness. Papers filed with the US Trademark and Patent Office suggest the new Tig would also provide commentary in the field of personal relationships. In another potential bit of great news for royal podcasters, Donald Trump is releasing another book by April 25th, a book of letters he's gotten over the years, including a letter from Diana. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliam said, "It is possible that the letter might contain embarrassing material, though it is highly unlikely they will contain anything compromising, as Diana apparently viewed him with disdain. There could even be more to this, as Trump has been known to like leggy blondes." In 2015, journalist Selena Scott wrote for the Sunday Times, "Trump bombarded Diana at Kensington Palace with massive bouquets of flowers, each worth hundreds of pounds. Trump clearly saw Diana as the ultimate trophy wife. As the roses and orchids piled up at her apartment, she became increasingly concerned about what she should do. It had begun to feel as if Trump was stalking her." In his 1997 book, The Art of the Comeback, he said, "I only have one regret in the women's department, that I never had the opportunity to court Lady Diana Spencer." Another letter in the book could be one written by Queen Elizabeth, although we imagine she would have kept things quite royal. Author Christopher Anderson feels that the Spencer sisters showing up at Princess Lilibet's christening is their way of not letting Diana be forgotten as we transition to King Charles. Anderson said, "I think there is a genuine heartfelt desire on the part of the Spencers to maintain the late Princess of Wales' remarkable legacy, to make sure she's not forgotten as we approach the coronation. They are also filling the void left by the royal family, whose senior members were invited but chose not to attend. I think there's also a none too subtle message here, one being sent by both the Sussexes and Diana's family, that even if the royals turn their backs on them, Harry, Meghan and their children will always have Diana's family in their corner. In that sense, Lady Sarah and Lady Jane are really proxies for Diana. They were at the christening because she couldn't be there. It's really quite touching when you think about it." Author Tom Quinn thinks the fuss about the royal titles is about, wait for it, money. Quinn said of Harry and Meghan's children, "I think they're much more likely to have a glittering media career than a glittering royal career, just because that will be the massive influence. You know, they're living in America. They're living next door to film people and celebrities. That'll be their world. We know that from other people that their children might struggle a bit, but you always find that they're involved at some level with Hollywood. If that's where you grow up, that's what you take in. I think it's extremely unlikely they'll suddenly come back and take part in the sort of activities that younger royals take part in over here. You know, they're going to be American through and through, and I think that's the way Meghan wants it." Palace Intrigue will be right back.
Hey, it's Jordan Ross Myers, the man behind Twitter's notorious Lee Radswell and Don Gunvalson. I'm inviting you to join me every week for the Pretty Corrupt podcast. Along with my co-host, reality casting director Stacey Noel Connor, and disgraced entertainment TV producer Nate Safer, we deconstruct pop culture's past, present, and future and probe the dark crevices of Hollywood, taking you inside the scandals, feuds, rises, and falls of society's rich and infamous. Alongside interviews with our celebrity friends and special guest hosts, everything is fair game on the Pretty Corrupt podcast. Every Tuesday on all streaming platforms and at storicmedia.com.
The king has a new horse. Dickie Arbiter tweets, "Continuing a tradition of over 100 years, the new horse has taken up residence in Windsor's Royal Mews. She's a noble, a 7-year-old black mare, a gift to the king from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. 8 horses were given to the late Queen by the Mounties during her reign, the most celebrated being Burmese, who was ridden by her for 18 years at Trooping the Colour. Last year, the RCMP led the Queen's funeral procession on 4 of the gifted horses." Charles is also appearing as king on stamps for the first time. The BBC reports that stamps use pictures of popular back garden flowers. In the corner, the silhouette of Charles' head. This ends the use of Queen Elizabeth's head for commemorative stamps. David Gold of Royal Mail said, "Using pictures of flowers for this landmark set of stamps reflected the fact that the king was a passionate gardener." Body expert Judy James thought Kate and Wills were a little flirty at the Commonwealth Day ceremonies, and she told the Mirror about it. At one point, Kate leant over to point to the place William should have been on his song sheet, and he replied with a rather sweet, suppressed smile, followed by a small bounce on his heels to signal a moment of happiness. Kate was also seen chatting to William during one of the musical numbers, and his grin in reply looked equally cheeky. Unfortunately, things weren't as flirty for the King. James explains Charles' air of impatience might have been prompted by what went on outside the Abbey. Being greeted by jeers from the crowd from people carrying anti-monarchy banners didn't rattle the King, but it seemed to startle Camilla. While Charles stopped to enjoy the performance of a haka, Camilla walked straight past, despite the fact he seemed to turn to expect to enjoy it with her. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, even YouTube Music, or whatever your favorite podcast app of choice is. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue, and good times.
Did you know you can name a cockroach after your ex-lover and have it fed to the animals at the zoo? Hi, I'm Johnny Mack with 5 Good News Stories. It's a podcast twice a week where I tell you 5 good news stories, 5 fluffy stories. I just want to make you smile to start your day. I can tell you about a cat and a rabbit that fell in love, or I can tell you how porta potties are about to be a lot less horrible. What kind of show is this? It's called 5 Good News Stories. The number 5 Good News Stories. Follow it, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your shows. 5 Good News Stories.